Welcome to Fandora's Box. This is the podcast where we talk about our favorite fandoms in terms of our thoughts, theories, opinion. We like to do a little story dissection as well as production analysis. My name is Tyler Gardner, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host Christian Almonte.
Sure.
And for the last couple episodes, Christian has been bringing us down the Star Trek road. We did a whole timeline scope. We talked a little bit about the the United Federation of Planets. And we've been going through the different storylines. We just wrapped up Generation.
We still got a little bit to go on.
Oh, we have not. I apologize. We haven't wrapped that up. We're in the process of wrapping
We're in the core of the next generation, my friend.
Okay, so we discussed the crew of the Enterprise meeting the entity Q.
This is true, yes.
As well as Q then sending that same crew to make contact with the Borg, which is Christian's
my favorite and
close to his heart.
Yes, quite true, quite right.
And now, Christian, whenever you're ready, I guess we can continue on this Star Trek cruise.
Yeah, Star Trek The Next Generation, also known as TNG, by the way, one of the abbreviations. So we got TOS and TNG. Right now we're so the first contact with the Borg was within the first 3 seasons. It doesn't come back into play until like the middle of the series. And this is right there. I'm showing him my good friend Tyler over here. I'm showing him a map of the latter parts of the Star Trek canonical timeline. Mm-hmm. And the Battle of Wolf 359 is extremely important. So
Wolf 359.
Wolf 359.
Okay.
Which is the name of the planet that I think it was orbiting, or the system. So this is actually important. I'm glad that it's on here because I would have forgotten it, to be completely honest, because I'm so excited to patrol more. So the Borg have been AWOL for quite some time because Q had launched them into the Delta Quadrant. Mm-hmm. Just long time away. Nowhere even close to the Alpha Quadrant. But presumably, if the Borg realized that they were
where they were from,
some federation to absorb, they weren't going to stop until they went for it. Mm-hmm. So this whole time, all these episodes, that Borg ship has just been cruising directly to them, which is terrifying to think about because because these are episodes and episodes and episodes later, and just to think about in the background that like someone that kicked your ass is just creeping closer and closer to you. So in this timeline,
I love how that's a thing though. They come in contact with this scarily powerful, intelligent, near unstoppable
OP.
Yeah, whatever species, race, and then they get blipped back, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have to worry about that anymore," even though they know that fucking thing exists.
Is zip into them all the way from several.
It didn't even come into maybe we should put in parameters in case these fucking things come back.
They actually did do a little bit of research.
Okay.
And I'm going to dive into that a little bit.
Because it just seemed like it was meet the Borg, get away from the Borg, forget about Borg.
Yeah, it's done and dusted.
Borg no longer matters.
Yeah.
Except
wash their hands.
It does matter.
Yeah. So they actually did have a specialist at the time who was researching the Borg and learning more about them, and trying to help them should things come to it. I mean, even she mentions there's not going to be any stopping them though, because we just don't have the technology to ice them. So she's kind of, I think her name was, I don't remember her rank. It was Lieutenant Commander Shelby. Yeah, but she was very old school, like the fluffy blonde hair, that kind of beauty aspect. But I didn't like her. She was very full of herself. Mm-hmm. There's also a big subplot with Commander Riker. She's beefing with him because she's like, hey, you're afraid to take the big chair because you've been offered several positions to command a starship, but you just stick here under Captain Picard this whole time. He kind of goes through a whole crisis of faith situation. But that's just the subplot. That's not really important. Because, and this was actually a two-parter episode. This is when they kind of first introduced the concept of two-parter episodes in Star Trek. It happens way more often now, but back in the day, this was a big deal. It's like a big season finale type of situation. Mm-hmm. So they're exploring local areas. They see a distress signal. Is it a distress signal? I forget. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, whoever's listening. But they ended up going to this planet, and they are investigating it. And they beam down, and they're in this big pit of a land mass, right? Mm-hmm. It's not really a desert, it's just a wasteland. And so they look around and they're like, what the fuck is this? And so they roger back to the transporter chief O'Brien. They say, yo, did you fucking transport us to the wrong place? And he's like, no, man, you're in the center of town. And then they look around, and it looks like literally some entity literally scooped up the entire town, and there's nothing left. So they basically send Shelby down. She goes and she's like, dude, there's no mistaking it. This was a Borg attack. And they're like, oh shit.
Oh, and then like it re-clicks in there like,
yeah.
Fuck.
They're like, oh god. So Picard ends up talking to Chief Admiral, like the high.
We need nukes.
Yeah.
We need tanks.
Yeah, we're talking to like the Chief Admiral, and he's just Picard basically goes like, he's like, and the Admiral goes like, we knew that they've been coming for a while now, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think we can stop them. So we're sending, because the Enterprise was the furthest out. So they're like, if you can get there and you can buy us enough time, we're gonna send like a bunch of our ships, like the whole fleet if we can. I think we got like 6 or 7 Klingon ships that want to join in too because they're also endangered. So we're gonna get as many people as we can. Our battle point will be Wolf 359, so we're gonna intercept them.
Okay.
And so Picard's like, all right, feeling a little bit better. We should be okay. So we just all we have to do is figure out how to stop these dudes, distract these dudes long enough for our army to get there. Mm-hmm. So the Borg meet the Borg again, and there's a big dramatic moment where it's like, we've engaged the Borg, and then there's dramatic music and they go fades to commercial. So the Borg go like this. Yeah, well they do that. But usually they say, this is where the whole quote resistance, have you ever heard resistance is futile?
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes from the Borg because that's what they say.
Okay.
They say, we are the Borg, or your technological whatever is going to be basically you're going to be part of us, and resistance is futile, meaning don't put up a fight, we're just going to ice you, that kind of thing. And they do it a little bit differently though. They say, yo, we want Picard.
The Borg.
Yeah, and they're like, what the fuck? Yeah. Have they ever asked for any of us individually? Like, what is this? They're like, no, we want Picard. They're like,
Do they give them terms? Like, give us Picard, we'll leave you alone?
No, they just said, give us Picard.
Oh, resistance futile, also give us Picard.
Yeah. So then they're like, well, what the hell do we do now? And so yeah, events happen, and eventually they just snatch Picard.
Okay.
And yeah, then they dip.
Oh.
And suddenly
Borg leave. They take Picard.
No, they go on the ship, take Picard, and then they dip back to their ship.
Oh, okay.
Suddenly,
just fake him out.
yeah. And while the Enterprise is recovering, they start driving back to try and get them, right?
Yeah. And
they get a message from the Chief Admiral, and then he's just like, it's like all static, and he's like, dude, we're getting fucked. And he's like,
we weren't ready for this.
We're trying to reconvene at, and then he just like,
oh, fucking dies. For real?
Yeah. So they make it to the battlefield at Wolf 359, and it's just a massacre. Like, every Federation ship has been just demolished.
Fuck.
And they were like, all the new ships were gone. The ship that freaking Commander Riker was offered to captain, that ship was destroyed.
And I just listened to go like, this is why I stayed.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, it's a good thing. You would have been not in good shape. Then Picard, as a Borg, appears to them.
Oh, shit.
And he's like, dude, I'm Locutus of Borg. And they're like,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And
that is all.
And he's like, dude, all of his memories and all of his tactical battle knowledge about your fleet is part of us. Borg. Mm. So we demolished any plan that you might have thought of.
Oh, that's why they were able to just...
That's why they were able to just completely wreck them with no problem. And that's why they wanted Picard to begin with. They're also like, hey, you're also going to be a quote for your people. Because when you go to Earth, you're going to tell them to like lay down their arms because it's just going to be easier for us to do that. So eventually, they're able to capture Picard, Borgify Picard, and Data spends like the whole time trying to communicate with him, and they're like 2 seconds from like getting demolished by the time that he's like, wait a second, I think I understand what Picard's trying to say, because he keeps saying, he just randomly says sleep, and like the doctor's like, he's so tired. It's like, and then Data's like, yeah, but I don't think that's what he's talking about. And then he realizes that he can hack into the subsect of the Borg and tell them to regenerate, like go to sleep and regenerate. Oh. So he was able to plant that into their subconscious.
So Picard was telling him to tell them to
get
them to go to bed,
exactly.
Get them to go to sleep.
Yeah, it was really clever. So they managed to put the Borg, quote unquote, to sleep. But but this resulted in like a command cascade failure or whatever, and the Borg ship basically is about to explode, and they had to like dip out of there fast. So they exploded, but then Picard like was reeling because he lost connection to the hive mind that way. But he's able to recover. But for the rest of the series, he's a former Borg, so he still has kind of like that post-traumatic stress. Yeah, which comes into play in First Contact, the movie, which involves the Borg, where he is like on a vendetta to kill the Borg because it's like
he knows how.
Yeah, he's fucked and stuff. But that's one of the major points of Star Trek: The Next Generation was Battle of Wolf 359 because the fleet's demolished, so they have to get the fleet up and running in like however many years. Yeah, it was a mess. They took a massive L with Wolf 359.
But they supposedly defeated the Borg, short of
that one ship. Yeah, I know it's kind of a problem. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, they have Star Trek: The Next Generation has arguably one of the most amazing series finales of all time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're All Good Things was the last episode, and it was an amazing episode. And they basically wrap that up. Q kind of becomes friends with them. And while this series is ending, Voyager is starting up.
Okay.
So, if we want to take a pause real quick, see if you have any questions.
I think I'm good.
Are you sure about that?
Should I have a question? Is my only question?
No.
Okay. Then I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So, Star Trek Voyager is it's like The Next Generation, just a little less better. No offense to anyone.
Just not as good.
I was gonna say no offense to anyone that likes Voyager over The Next Generation, but I don't know. I didn't like it as much. So basically, what happens is, to preface Voyager, they hit a wave, which is basically
a wave.
It's like a weird space wave. I don't know, man. I'm explaining this horribly. I'm just gonna try and get through this. So the caregiver, which is basically an entity that is taking care of its planet, it's raised its own planet essentially, and it considers them its child.
Okay.
It is basically like sending random beams out to like summon people to help his planet.
Okay.
So he does that, and he's like, "Oh great, you guys are here to help. I'm gonna die now."
Ooh.
And they're like, "How the fuck do we get back?" So the caretaker dies, and they are deep in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh, so they were summoned to this planet?
Yeah.
Those beams are like those teleportation.
Yeah, they're like transportation beams, essentially.
Okay.
And so they're like, "Fuck, now we gotta get home." Like, how the fuck we're gonna get home? It's gonna take us 70-something years.
They don't have their ship?
They do have their ship, but it's way in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh,
even
Q got them out the first time.
Yeah. Because even with their speed, they're like, it's gonna take us like 70 years to get there. So they start on their way back, and the whole journey is essentially them trying to get back and dealing with all the weird creatures in the Delta Quadrant. Guess where they have to pass through to get home?
Romulan territory?
No.
Klingon territory?
No.
Borg territory? Borg territory.
Borg territory. They have to pass through Borg space, which is where the Queen lives.
Cool.
And there are so many fucking Borg ships, and Voyager actually gets pretty good at fighting the Borg. They actually are on pretty even playing field.
Do we know why? Like, all of a sudden they can kind of handle the Borg when they couldn't before?
So one of the major points was an episode called The Scorpion, which has one of the Borg, which you can probably look up, 7 of 9.
7 of 9?
7 of 9, tertiary adjunct of Unimatrix 01.
7 of 9 Borg. Give it the old Google. Oh, she's kind of hot.
Yeah, that's what they used it for.
Okay. Well, she's not hot as a Borg, but she's like half Borg. I'm assuming like she's ally.
Jerry Ryan is a model.
Yeah, she is. So does she, like, this is her full Borg?
She was essentially the Star Trek equivalent of a thirst trap before they had thirst traps.
So this is her full Borg, and then what does she eventually become, their ally?
Yeah, she becomes that one in the red.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, she eventually becomes part of Starfleet.
Yeah, well, I'm getting there, buddy.
Oh, sorry. I got the pictures in front of me, man. So
It's fair. Fair enough.
So they meet her.
Well,
they don't meet her.
Not quite. So you know how the Borg are on an endless conquest to basically assimilate all of organic matter and life.
Assimilation, no breathing.
Exactly. What they do is using their new technology, they're like,
assimilation, no breeding.
So they open basically a portal into a completely another dimension.
Who is this? The
Borg.
Oh, alright.
And they go into this dimension, and it's basically all organic life. It's like a weird, like, organic pool. essentially. And they come out running because there's someone in there that can kill the Borg.
Oh, when they
went to the portal. So the Borg opened up a portal.
And on the other end of the
On the
portal,
end of the portal,
they find someone that can fuck with them.
Was a completely different. It's completely different dimension. So nothing's the same.
Okay.
And what comes out of there is this genocidal race that can kill the Borg. So the Borg are like, shit. Like, we're not used to getting fucked up like this. So they're dipping. So imagine seeing that. This is one of the coolest scenes, just visually, is that the Voyager, literally at the desk, one of the guys, Tom Paris, is just like, we got company, and then they basically look out the window, and it's like a bunch of Borg cubes, and Chakotay, the commander's just like, my god. But they all pass them.
Oh.
And they're like, what the fuck? Yeah, exactly. So they're like, what is happening? And then like a Borg ship, a little ship is destroying the Borg and it's exploding stuff, and they're like, what is happening? So they're like, the Captain Janeway is just like, I want to know what can kill the Borg, because that could be useful. So
sounds pretty good right now.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So they end up coming to a meeting, which doesn't usually happen. This Borg don't negotiate, but basically the captain goes on one of the Borg ships, meets 7 of 9, who is basically still part of the collective.
Okay.
So she's like, okay, here's the agreement. You help us with killing the entities, and we'll guide you through our space.
Oh, so the Borg want help killing this person that can kill them.
Yeah.
And then they'll get the Enterprise out of their area.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Which obviously doesn't go according to plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in there already.
Yeah, no. They do end up fighting these entities and killing them, or at least sending them back to their space. But obviously the Borg don't keep their deal. So 7 of 9, she's the only Borg left on the Voyager ship, so she tries taking over the ship, and they manage to sedate her and basically transform her back to a human.
Okay.
But they still have to go through Borg space. So, back to the Voyager timeline, a lot of it's having to fight through Borg space. And at the end is the Endgame episode. I don't know, actually I've never seen the Endgame episode, which is weird. I don't know why I haven't.
So does the majority of the season of Star Trek Voyager have to do with dealing with the Borg?
Not really. It's just like the Next Generation has the Borg appear at like really crucial moments. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
It's kind of like they're the highlight reel, but it's not always like that.
Okay.
But there are a lot more Borg episodes in Voyager. There's quite a few. Anyway, then Endgame happens. I don't know what's up with Lower Decks, man. Lower Decks is an animation.
You said it's currently being
on Paramount
produced?
Plus. No, it's still being made. There's still a few seasons probably in it. Basically, Endgame happens. They basically destroy Borg Queen in essence, I think.
They destroy her in Voyager?
Yeah.
Who are these people that could fuck up the Borg?
Yeah, they were these crazy, like, organic aliens that were basically immune to getting assimilated. And their ships were completely organic as well. So, like, they were flesh ships and shit. And, they looked like the freaking aliens from Alien. Like, they were these creepy looking dudes. And they were telepathic. And, yeah.
So they weren't going to become, like, friends.
And they infected the Borg, I think, actually.
Okay.
Ironically enough. That was wild.
A virus infecting a virus.
Yeah. But then there was also a bit of a subplot with the Borg, because the Borg Queen basically intentionally, because she's super smart, she intentionally left 7 of 9 on board so that when 7 of 9 returned, she would have all the knowledge about humanity and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, didn't go according to plan, because one of the reasons why I don't like Voyager that much is because they make the Captain Janeway, way too overpowered. Like, she's always right, even though she should not have any right to be that right. Basically, like, the writer's baby, essentially, is what it is.
Oh.
So, like, in situations where she should have taken massive L's, she just comes out on top every time, which is just annoying.
It gets boring.
Yeah. But that's what happens with the Queen. Basically, Janeway kind of outdoes her. But then, around this time, First Contact happened with the Borg, and they chased the Queen down, back away into the timeline, all the way down to Zephyr Cochrane. They kill the Queen back there, and everything's supposedly nice and normal.
Except for...
Then after this, years and years later, comes the new series that just came out recently, past few years, Star Trek Picard,
Mm.
which takes place with a really old Picard.
It's the same character though.
Yeah,
Just older.
Just way older. And this takes place after a major problem that happens with AI. So essentially, they make androids kind of commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
But these androids are responsible for a huge massacre on Mars, where they basically destroy like Mars. And from then on, artificial intelligence and research concerning it is basically killed. So Data, who's no longer around by Picard, he, quote unquote, because he's an android, he makes 2 children, 2 daughters, and they are like the main focus of Picard.
Okay.
Because one of them.
Where's Data? Isn't he just a machine, an android?
No, he's dead by this time.
How does he die?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Unless you want me to tell you.
Yeah.
He dies in Nemesis, which is if you go back to the movies.
Oh.
Let me show you. This one, right at the end. So he dies in this one.
That's the last movie of that main timeline. The Prime timeline.
Yes, sir.
Why don't they call it the Prime line?
But it's stupid. All of us hate Nemesis. It's the worst movie. It's just bad, man. It's just everything that they could have to make it terrible was bad.
They did.
Yeah. They basically made like a young clone version of Captain Picard, and he was like evil, and he he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you because I'm an evil clone."
Does he have a mustache?
You're like, "What is this?" He's also bald, but anyway.
But he has a mustache.
He has a mustache. So Data has kids, 2 daughters. They don't know that they're his daughters. They think that they're humans, and it's actually a really intricate plot line. I can't explain it very well. It's not one of those ones that I've had years and years to relearn. It's like very Game of Thronesy because it's just there's a lot of shit going on. There's basically once a civilization reaches a certain level of AI technology, supposedly there's this like cataclysmic synthetic only like race that comes like out of nowhere and just swoops in, like makes the AI super powerful and kills off all the organics.
Oh shit! Okay,
so it's like a doomsday.
Borg, it's like a Borg that waits for.
Well, even worse than the Borg, because these guys.
And all this species does is just wait for these other civilizations to hit that.
Well, basically, waits for them to
landmark.
contact them. Yeah, they send out like a beacon, like, "Hey, we're here," and then they'll come in, like, just swoop in.
The AI set this beacon to have these people come in? Oh shit!
So the beacon starts to work, and you can see like these weird, like, you ever see the third Matrix movie?
Mm-hmm.
And how like the weird robot alien squids like have their crazy tendrils.
Yeah.
Like it's like that, but like on a massive, like scale. They're just like launching through like a friggin' portal and then manage to close the portal in time.
Okay.
Which to me, I think that they should. So this is a hot take. Okay, I'm just gonna get into this real quick. They should have fucking did that for the 2nd season of Picard.
What?
They should have figured out how to stop those creatures in general, yeah. But unfortunately, they had to deal with
bullshit.
The 2nd season of Picard was awful. It was so bad. It was like these really terrible like character plot lines, and then they're like, "Hey, Picard's dealing with PTSD because his mom killed herself."
Oh god, they do that like CW like
Yeah.
emotional bullshit where every other second they gotta turn around and like go into like some emotional like trauma and healing.
It's like I gotta uncover why I'm experiencing this.
Makes these fucking things insane.
And you're like, dude, what happened to the aliens in the battles?
Yeah, that shit becomes so insufferable. Like, people don't just do that. They don't just turn around and like break down and like go through shit like that.
Especially when I'm literally the oldest.
But you know what? We talked about it, and now I'm all healed.
Exactly.
I'm over it.
Wait, now I realize what went wrong that whole time.
I realize what's most important.
Yeah, a lot of people are very unhappy with the new Picard. On the bright side, their other one, Strange New Worlds, is amazing. But yeah, Picard's the last of what we know. However, if you go back a little bit, Tyler, zoom out just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The one addition to this timeline that we have not gone over yet, Star Trek Discovery.
We touched on it a tiny bit.
Yes. Do you remember what I said happens?
No.
Spock's adopted sister.
Oh, yes. Yes, okay. Michael.
Yes, Michael.
Because why?
I don't know. So she, basically, they together, her and her brothers, well, basically they just saved the universe.
Sure.
I'll just put that bluntly.
Cool.
Then, unfortunately,
they die.
because of this, she gets launched like 300 years into the future.
Okay.
So technically, Picard's the end, but in reality,
Michael's floating another
100
years out.
She's way after all this happens, so we'll consider that the end.
So that's it.
That's all we have so far, man. But there's a lot of adventures that's happened in between then.
So what went on with these fucking movies that just came out however long ago? Star Trek.
Oh, if you go to the movies, yeah, go to the.
Yeah,
movies.
like because I remember that picture. You see the prime timeline, which starts with the Enterprise show, original series, animated motion pictures, the ones that you talked about, Next Generation, and then it looks like it ends with Nemesis. I don't see Picard on here. Voyager was the show
Picard,
before Picard.
What?
Was Voyager the show that was before Picard?
Right after.
Voyager came after? Oh.
It started after. They existed around the same lifetime, yeah. It's the blue versus the red.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the yellow one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I completely forgot Deep Space Nine. Holy shit. That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Alright.
Deep Space Nine is essentially a Star Trek soap opera. So I don't really consider it.
Keep it.
A lot of Star Trek people like it, so I apologize if that roasts some of the people out there, but Deep Space Nine to me didn't really have any...
I suppose if we really need to talk about it, somebody will say something.
Yeah. I apologize. There's some people that rate it above TNG, and I'm like, you are high on shrooms. There's no way. But anyway, so you were asking about the new Star Trek series.
Because the timeline we're looking at right now, like I said, shows the prime timeline, which starts with the OG Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek, the original series, all the way up until Nemesis, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it splits, and there's something called the Kelvin timeline, and that starts with the first J.J. Abrams movie.
Yes, quite right.
What the fuck is that all about?
So, they call it the JJ verse. We hate it.
Just sounds insulting.
But you know what's interesting is my dad actually likes these new movies, which I think is kind of funny because I'm like, I hate these movies with a burning passion.
But not knowing anything about Star Trek,
yeah,
they were pretty good.
I know, that's what he likes them just because they're good movies. But like in terms of like the preservation of what Star Trek was beforehand.
See, that's funny to me because with the new Star Wars movies, the Skywalker saga,
the Rey saga,
they sucked. And I watched them, and I tried to watch them from somebody who knows Star Wars, which obviously they just do nothing but humiliate anything before. And even on their face value, it's just a movie. Garbage.
Yeah.
Just garbage. Like they're not fun movies. I did not find them enjoyable.
I will say the new Star Trek movies, they do the same thing as in like they debauch the old franchise, but they are good movies. That being said, though, to answer your question about
what the fuck do they fill in? Like, why are they here? What do they do? Do they do anything for the story?
So essentially, what happens? I don't know if you remember.
I remember the first one had to do with the Romulans, right?
Correct, very correct.
Or I'm Nero. I'm Christopher.
So
fire everything.
Fire everything. So Nero, who's basically just a disgruntled Romulan, I think his planet gets. I think Romulus gets destroyed or something.
Yeah, because wasn't there
in the future?
Okay, no, that's why he was out there.
Yeah, so he decides to go back to the past. He goes all the way back to the original series era, and he says, "I'm going to destroy the Federation because they're the reason why all this shit's gone wrong, and I'm going to destroy Vulcan." So he literally destroys the whole planet of Vulcan, which, oh my god, it demolishes like everything. So basically, J.J. Abrams was just like, we're just going to clean the whole slate. So he kills Spock's home planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tries to kill, I think, the Federation. I could be wrong about that. But they stop him. Big hooey. Who cares? But they basically fucks up the timeline irrevocably. So we have all that shit. And plus the old Spock from that timeline somehow got there. I don't know, man.
He was protecting like that antimatter crap. Was it red? Omega Red?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've seen those movies like once or twice.
They have no connection to the actual original.
Absolutely none.
Okay.
No.
All right.
They just
short of they have the same.
He just basically came back to make a new fucked up timeline. Is essentially what he did. He went back in time to make a offshoot, which these movies could exist in, and somehow Khan is not Ricardo Montalban, but
so at least it's a little nicer than just like, oh, Star Wars Disney, let's just retcon everything and just make it so that's not actually what happened. That's nice.
Well, I mean, who knows if they consider it You know,
it's a little
this,
more
that,
forgiving to be like, okay, well, instead of just destroying everything that was written for, because that's totally disrespectful for the people that put all that work in. Not saying anything bad against anybody in particular, but at least it's like, okay, well, we can do something in the story to make it, okay, we have timeline already, we have time travel already, so let's just make it so that the characters go back in time. That's okay. I mean, that's a much better approach than just destroying decades worth of work.
Yeah.
Which is just.
So yeah.
I don't think I'll ever not be mad about that.
So yeah, no, that's essentially what happened. Then they did Into Darkness, where they randomly brought Khan back, but they brought him back as a white Britishman once again.
I liked Khan. I mean, I haven't seen the other Khan, but I liked Khan as Benedict Cumberbatch. Whatever the fuck his name. We know what I'm talking about.
Eggs Benedict Arnold.
Eggs Benedict.
Yeah.
Benadryl cucumber.
Don't get me wrong, I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but you know, what he represented is what I hated. I don't hate the man. And then Star Trek Beyond, I don't know if I have seen that. Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Is that another movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Star Trek Beyond actually was a very good movie, even though it's on my hated timeline.
That one I
don't think it was by J.J. Abrams because there was less lens flares.
I think J.J. Abrams needs to just stop doing films.
Yeah, good.
Because he did the first. He did Force Awakens or whatever.
Yeah, he fucked up in both new generation franchises of sci-fi. But that's just my opinion.
That is.
I came to give the facts. I am roasting the hell out of stuff, so I do apologize. Yeah, that's fair.
This is we talk about our thoughts, theories, and opinions.
Yeah, once again, this is heavy on the opinions part right now. But yeah, no, Star Trek Beyond was good. I had a new alien girl, and she actually, her actress wants to come back for another movie, so I don't know if they're gonna do it. But yeah, that's a whole different aspect. And then Star Trek: The Next Generation, they had a lot of movies after that. And I think one of the reasons why there's not a whole lot of stories from that era is because they basically unlock like every technology at that point. So once you make a civilization too powerful, it becomes kind of uninteresting.
Yeah, there's nothing else to really do.
Yeah, so there wasn't a whole lot by the end of it. But that's Star Trek, my friend. Star Trek in a nutshell. It only took me 3 sessions to get it all out there. But what are your thoughts, theories, or opinions?
I knew there was a lot to it. I just had never had this, which is what I wanted, was just to kind of be able to piece all these different mediums, because I know there was original series. I did not know when Shatner Spock was around, or when Shatner Kirk was around, and Nimoy Spock was around. I also knew that the movies that J.J. Abrams had started was something new, but I didn't know in what way, like how it connected. So this was cool. I kind of had like an inkling of the board, just because you've talked about them a number of times.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to kind of start to get a more full picture of what's going on. And obviously, as we do more episodes, we'll be able to get into in depth to a lot of stuff. But this was very nice to finally get at least some sort of a footing in this universe. Because, like I said, haven't touched it in the fucking slightest, like really at all. I don't even have a comparison to anything you wouldn't. I guess maybe Bionicle. I don't know how much you know about Bionicle, but.
In what regard?
In any regard.
Oh, just like lore heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like about, because like you can recognize characters and stuff like that, but piecing together events and what goes on and character development and the interactions, I knew nothing, and now I know a little bit more.
If you were to start on Star Trek, where would you want to begin? Would you want to begin with movies, particular episodes? Because let me give you a little bit of a backstory about how I started.
Sure.
Which is kind of interesting. It's not a very conventional one, because you have to remember I'm only 27, so I'm not part of the old OG generation. The core guys that grew up with
original series,
or even when
Enterprise.
Next Generation was premiering, because that was, I think, in the early. I don't even remember, but. The way I started actually was I watched at my godparents' house. I watched a episode that had the Borg in it, and I was really like hyped about it. I'm like, this is really awesome. But my dad had only shown me like some of the original movies. I hadn't seen a single episode of the original series, just the movies.
Okay.
And then he gave me for Christmas a CD, two DVDs. One was only with Q episodes, and one was only with Q episodes. and that was across all the franchises. So I had like a perfect understanding of the Q, but I had no idea who any of these characters were because it was only like those core.
Oh wait, they put
Episodes.
together just those episodes.
Just the episodes. So they
Why?
had they would have
Just like he thought that was the best place to kind of get into it, or
well, it was just like the fan collective, like the best of kind of situation.
I see.
So it would be literally all Borg episodes scattered across like there's a Borg episode. Like I wish we could do a whole one about the Borg specifically.
Yeah.
But there's one if you go back to the initial timeline, I can actually just show you where it bounces. So there's one Borg episode here
In Enterprise.
in Enterprise.
Okay.
Which is called Regeneration. Great episode. Bounces all the way over Star Trek Next Generation.
Okay.
And that has a few episodes in it. Goes Q Who, the Wolf 359 episodes. Then I think Iborg, and then 2 at the very series end, which involves Data's evil brother, by the way, called Lore.
Lore.
Lore. Yeah. He's cool, but he's a douche. Then Voyager, and I forget where it ends, but yeah. But then they have a lot of Q episodes, because Q isn't just in The Next Generation. He appears once in Voyager, and I think in Deep Space Nine. That's where I started. And as you can see, that gives me no understanding of the timeline whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
That just
So then you had to go back.
it just gives me like storylines about certain things. So when I went back and like started learning more about it, I'm like, oh shit, this all makes sense. But honestly, the Borg CD was actually really useful because you could kind of watch and understand that whole timeline without having to watch the episodes after episodes after episodes. Because these aren't just like 10 episode seasons. There's like 20 episode seasons, so there's a lot.
Mm.
So that was always useful.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Very cool.
For my final question, of course. So if you did have to start with, what would you want to start with? Would you want to start like I did with like
Learning more things about
specific aliens, or did you want to start based on one series, one another one? Because I could point you in a million different directions, but everyone's experience with Star Trek is unique.
I think I'd want to learn about their first, because it just seems like pre the setup of the United Federation of Planets, things seem kind of boring. So I'd kind of like to get into like the first major like event, like what kind of got things started. Like what was the first event that really changed things? Short of obviously the discovery of warp technology. I'd like to start there if that's a place. If that's a thing. Can you think of any like major Star Trek universe changing event?
There's the Klingon Wars that happened.
That'd be cool. I mean, I always heard the word Klingon, and I knew they always seemed like such badasses and so crazy all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of, and for me, I remember in the second movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, when he was like, they ended up chasing him onto a Klingon planet or something like that, and they started fighting a bunch of Klingons, and I thought they weren't supposed to be here. I thought Klingons were such like crazy, out there, warmongers.
Yeah.
And they never touched on it again, so I was like, I guess they really didn't care that much. But
yeah,
that'd be cool.
They are their own galactic society.
That'd be cool to learn about.
Because you got the Klingon Empire, the United Federation of Planets, and then the Romulan Empire. Those are like the 3 major Alpha Quadrant boys.
Because like the episodes that they go through kind of as they go to different planets and they discover different things, which is fine. But I like it when they come across things that actually turn into something like, oh shit, here's Khan. Oh shit, here are the Romulans. Oh shit, here are the Borgs.
Yeah. And there are other, there's some races I haven't even mentioned to you. Like there's the Breen, which are huge in Deep Space Nine.
Okay, so maybe next time we talk about the different species and stuff like that.
Yeah, I could.
That'd be cool. Who makes up the Federation of Planets? Who are the Vulcans? What are they? Who are the Romulans? What are they? Borgs? What are they? Whatever else you have mentioned. Who are they? Where do they come in? Like, what part of the timeline they come in? What series do we see them in? Why do they matter? That'd be cool.
We'll drop some knowledge bombs next time, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us yet again. This has been Fandora's Box, signing off.
And if you want to eat that box, that's good.